We have made it to the final week of our summer-long countdown, or count up, if you will, as we have gone from 0 and we're approaching number 99 for the best of the best to wear each and every jersey number in the history of St. Louis sports. I'm Joe Roderick, joined alongside by Randy Karraker. There's Bernie Miklasz as well. And guys, we have been doing this now for 9 weeks. And these are two. Well, today we have one, and then later in the week we have another that I have been looking forward to since we started this, since we made the list, as we are in the 90s. And guys, 91 gives us a few different options for the best to wear it. And just off the bat, I will say this because I know we're going to get comments on it. I know we are going to get people that are going to initially say it as soon as they see the video, as soon as they say the numbers. We are not going to put Leonard Little as number 91, but he is worth a debate as far as being in here.
1 year is 57. Why are we putting him as 91?
That we'll get into that. We will dive into that. As I think three very viable candidates: Vladimir Tarasenko, Randy, a good friend of yours, Chris Long, and of course Leonard Little. All three of those guys in the debate. And Bernie, I will start with you as far as your thoughts on these three gentlemen.
Well, first of all, Leonard Little was a heck of a Ram. I mean, he really was. He was a very accomplished defensive end during that time. He had a lot of sacks, top 5, but he doesn't belong on this list in his final group because he didn't wear 91 very, very, very much at all. And
Bernie, I think that he, after his rookie year, I think he switched to 91. Right?
Oh, he did? Okay, I take that back. All right. So I'm sorry. I got confused by our preliminary discussion on that. My apologies.
I think, just from the beginning of it, the reason I kind of just the off the field stuff, if we're going with that, it just feels like the other two might be more deserving.
Well, I think that's fair. I think that's fair to take that
I agree with that too.
Yeah.
But just in terms of Little, he did wear 57 through 2000, but then 01 through the end of his career in 09, he did wear 91.
Well, I just want let me do this because I think we have an obvious choice here.
Yeah.
But let me just say this about Leonard Little. He made a Pro Bowl. He was Associated Press All Pro. This was in 2003. As a Ram, he had 87 and a half sacks over the years he played. That was like, it put him in the top 5 or 6 in the NFL. I mean, he was a really good football player, and that the tragedy is something that we'll never be able to forget. And so I'll leave it at that. But Randy, you take it from there.
Well, I said on the Randy Karraker show earlier in the week that in terms of guys, if I were choosing the guy, it would be Chris Long because he's one of my favorite guys of all time. But I think you and I are headed in the same direction here. You had a guy that over a 4-year span had the second most goals in the National Hockey League to Alexander Ovechkin. You had a guy that was, as a St. Louis Blue, on the cover of the NHL video game. You had a guy that was on a Stanley Cup team. You had a guy that was a dominant player in the NHL in Vladimir Tarasenko. I think this is actually pretty easy for me.
Bunch of all-star teams. And then you just have to look at, and I'm glad you brought up that. That's a great stat. I used to pump that one all the time. How, especially when it came to, if you just took non-power play goals. I mean, he was right there with Ovechkin over those 4 years because Ovechkin got a lot of his goals on the power play, which Tarasenko didn't. I mean, he pretty much, like when we're talking about even strength or 5-on-5, Tarasenko pretty much matched Ovechkin goal for goal over those 4 years. The separator was the power play. But look at Tarasenko's place in Blues history. He is 5th all-time in goals scored behind Hall, Fedorko, Sutter, and Unger. He is 7th all-time in assists. He is 5th all-time in points. He only 4 St. Louis Blues forwards played more games career in the Blue Note. And then listen, the greatest couple of months in the history of the Blues franchise when they won the Stanley Cup. I mean, he had 11 goals and 6 assists during that run. I mean, and he had a couple of really big goals. So this is I'm with you with Chris Long. If we ever did a list, which we're not, like if we pick numbers, all right, all these numbers, who's the guy you respected the most and liked the most? Chris Long would win because Chris Long's incredible. He's just a wonderful, remarkable human being who, by the way, remains very loyal to St. Louis. But man, the Tarasenko resume is overpowering. This is a no doubter.
And that's where you throw Chris Long on the list, and I think he gets the recognition on as being one of the top 2, one of the top 3 to wear this number. I think because of the stuff, we took Leonard Little off the list, or we're not really putting him on there because of stuff off the field. Chris Long's what his contributions were off the field and continue to be this day, I think are one of the reasons why it's even kind of debatable in any means.
A fan favorite for a franchise that for much of his career was leaving, and he still attached himself to St. Louis and still does attach himself to St. Louis, like Bernie said. And I think from that standpoint, if you're going overall contributions to a greater St. Louis, Chris Long would win that award. But and by the way, Vladimir Tarasenko, man, he contributed a lot to Paul Manos. But
he did.
He had some rather heavy playoff runs, but still, just a great player in terms of.
Was that some wordplay there, Karraker?
Yeah, it was.
Heavy.
It was.
Heavy. Okay, yeah. I got you. Okay, I feel you. All right.
Yeah. They were good at carry out well before COVID because of him. But anyway, but no, what a great player. And I know that the way things ended here with him taking a shot at the medical staff and the way his career has gone since he left is not great. But man, appreciating what he was. The very first game, he scores 2 goals against the hated Red Wings, right? And coming out of the lockout in 2013, the night that Stan Musial died, by the way, he had the 2 goals against the Red Wings. And then from then on, for a stretch of 7 years, he was sensational. 8 years, he was sensational.
Yeah. Now, clearly on the short list of the St. Louis Blues all-time best forwards, and the numbers speak for themselves. And listen, I know the one criticism that I remember, guys, and I assume you will remember it too. Obviously, he got a lot of criticism for postseason play, that he didn't make enough impact, and I think he erased that in 2019. But if you look at there were times in the postseason he was disappointing, but can we be honest here? There were times when a lot of the big name Blues players were disappointing in the postseason. I mean, that's why they had so many disappointing postseasons. But Vladimir Tarasenko, there's only one Blue that scored more postseason goals than Tarasenko, and that was Brett Hull. I mean, Tarasenko did score 41 goals. Hully's 67. So I'm not going to push back on the idea that he was disappointing at times or maybe too often in the playoffs. I'm not going to push back on that. But 41 goals, and there's only one other guy that ever wore the uniform to have more than that. I think that sort of forgives him a little bit for some of those disappointments.
Yeah, and I think there was a stretch there, Bernie, where we were disappointed here in St. Louis with his playoff performance. But I think there was a stretch there where he might have been second in playoff goals per game for a long time too, even though we were disappointed because the Blues didn't win. I don't think, and remember, he was the only goal scorer they had for a long time. He was the focus of the opposing team's defense, and he still was able to come through with some pretty good playoff seasons.
Yeah, and I hope at some point, I'm sorry, real quick. I hope, to use a cliche or a metaphor, I hope he comes home at some point. I hope there's some kind of Vladimir Tarasenko night at Enterprise after he retires, because I think fans
shocked. Yeah, if he doesn't wind up in the Blues Hall of Fame, I'll be shocked.
Right. Yeah, me too. I love to see the applause, because when a great player, even though you might have gotten mad at him, but when he retires and you look at what his career meant for your team, fans love to just all of a sudden, well, man, we got to say hello and goodbye to that guy, and we got to rain the love down on him. So that'd be a great night.
Yeah.
Well, Blues fans, if anything, have been vocal these entire 10 weeks that we've been doing this. I think in the end, they will be very happy to see who is chosen at number 91. Guys, we have one more to debate here, and we will do that next time right here on STL Sports Central. All content here brought to you by DraftKings. The crown is yours.